What's up, fellas? I see we have the usual suspects in here already. Metal Base 79, Mike St. Croix, Joel Bateman, Paul Adamek. What's going on, guys? Bipster's Repair Shop's here. What's up, man? Long time no see. Let's see, merchandise. I keep forgetting to do this. I've forgotten to do this the last couple of weeks. There we go. Now I got the merch shop pinned there at the top because it's the Christmas season, because I'm a broke-ass guitar player. Michael D's here, Music Zep Kid. How's everybody doing? Good? Looks like most of you seem to be. I'm doing okay. No complaints. So, actually managed to get everything up and ready to go relatively on time today. So, all broke-ass guitar players unite. Yes, yes, all broke-ass guitar players unite separately from your own homes. Yugaman 23, what's up, dude? Says this damn lockdown sucks, but it gives me a chance to get better acquainted with my Tascam DP32. Stay safe here. I've got the 24. I've got the DP24 SD, which is it's really the same thing. I mean, the same manual comes with both of them, and it's a really cool. It's a good multi-track recorder. The mixing and mastering, the mixing process on it anyway is ungodly tedious. So I learned, I really anymore all I use it for is just, like when I'm doing a playthrough or something or other back in my, back in the guitar room, and I'm actually miking up amps and stuff. That's about all I use it for. I don't use it for full tracks or anything like that anymore. It's just way too time consuming. Whereas, if I sit down here in Studio One, I can put together a drum track in, 10, 15 minutes. And everything, do everything on top of it that I need to do. And, if I need to add compression, I can add compression in about 20 or 30 seconds. On that Tascam thing, adding compression is a lot more daunting of a task. Park Henry says, but if we sold our gear, we would have bank. That is true. If I sold all my gear, I would have a lot of money in the bank account right now. But let's face it, that's not going to happen. If I don't have any guitar gear, suddenly I don't have a YouTube channel. At least not one anybody's gonna care about. Joey Van Ostrand, Daniel Burr, JG Mopar, Serenity Guitars. Yeah, a lot of people bouncing in and out here, it looks like. But oh man, it is a pain in the arse. That's yeah. I mean, like I really like that multi-track recorder, and I'm glad I bought it. But it's way overkill for what I use it for anymore. And like I said, just the mixing process on it alone is I've only done it a couple of times, and it was enough to know that I need to spend more money and start recording with a DAW. Paul Adamek says my ex tried to get my gear, but hid it at a friend's house. I don't know that I don't have any friends that would be willing to, let me hide all of my gear there. I'd honestly, if I were in that situation, not that I ever planned to be, but if I were ever in that situation, I'm gonna have to rent a storage shed. Only way I can get away with it. Bipster's Beer Shop said gas is better than TAS. Tractor acquisition syndrome. Yeah, I don't know where I would store one tractor, let alone a collection of them. Hey, Waleed's here. What's up, dude? Daniel Burr says, tip for everyone: don't leave your gear at band practice. If you don't practice for a couple months, you'll be worrying your ass off. Why don't you just go get it? Michael D says his Eddie Van Halen tribute guitar is about done. Cool. Or CAS, car acquisition center. I got a customer of mine that's a I got a customer of mine. Buys a he runs a pro studio, so he's buying studio gear and shit from me all the time. And he is also a big car collector, and he has got the biggest collection of black cars I have ever seen, and I'm talking like cool stuff. Really, he's got some vintage, fastback hot rods and stuff. He's got a like a 30s something or other. It's a 30. It's a right side drive something or other. He gets a kick out of sending telling people to go go run out and take that car to go run out and grab everybody a bite to eat at the drive-through. Just ordered a brand new ZR1. Special ordered a brand new Corvette ZR1. He's got a really really cool car collection. But in order to have that car collection, he also has to he had to buy his own. He's got this huge storage garage barn thing that he had to buy in order to keep them all. But I don't think he's filled it up yet. Made Man 74 says back in the day I had a Fostex DNTV8 recorder. It was the most complicated bit of machinery known to man. Yeah, that's been my experience with all of those. All of those multi-track recorders, none of them seem to, none of them seem to be easy to use. There's a learning curve involved with all of them, and that was probably the reason why I avoided entering the recording world for so long, because I didn't want to, the thought of having to sit down and learn any of that stuff was just a colossal sized pain in the ass, and one that I didn't want to deal with. Neiman says, ever played a VHT Pitbull Ultra Lead? Yes, I have. Those amps are kick ass. For the longest time, that was like my blood amp, and I never got one. But that was the amp that I wanted more than any other. Was a Pitbull Ultra Lead, 100-watt Pitbull Ultra Lead, and then eventually I got to play a Diesel Herbert and and an Orange Thunderverb, and while I would still love to have a Pitbull. Be it a VHT or a Fryette era, I don't care which one. It's the same amp, but that one, the Ultra Lead kind of got bumped down a couple of notches. So that's on the on the Dream Gear amp wish list. That is. Okay, there we go. Now we're back. I set the Oh. There we go. There we go. That's a little better. I set the latency on this thing to, usually I leave it at normal, and this time I set it at low. Not ultra low, but low, which is the middle setting. So I'm hoping that doesn't screw with my internet connection here too much. But based on that first dropout, it's not looking good. Let's see here. They're talking about bad marriages. Tam's World is here. And there goes my light. Damn it. All right. No more interruptions, I hope. Let's see. Joey Van Ostrom says those pit bulls are shiznit. The synergy module is supposed to be spot on. I have heard that as well. All those synergy modules, though, are supposed to be pretty close to the amps with which they were licensed to be modeling. So Joey Van Ostrom says, Robert, what VHT did Mick Mars use there for a minute? I'm pretty sure that was Pitbull. I think I've heard that, it's the information on that's out there seems to be a little vague because I've heard that he used a Pitbull as one of his amps on the Motley Crue self-titled record. If you listen to that he had to have, that whole album was just layered with guitars, so I know he used a lot more than just that, but but he had used. I've read that he used the Pitbull for a lot of those, tracks, if not all of them. And I've also read that he only used the power amp section of a VHT for a couple of tracks. So, there's definitely elements of the Pitbull on that whole record. So, I got to assume that was one of his main amps. Park Kingery says, what's everyone's next gear purchase? I don't know about anybody else, but I am done buying gear this year because if I buy anything else, I haven't done the math, but I'm afraid that I need to, I'm afraid if I buy anything else, the IRS is not going to like that. If I have to report a profit here at some point, and otherwise they begin to view what I do as a hobby, and apparently I don't know why or what they will do, but apparently that is viewed as not good. So I must be careful for the next month and a half or so. Unless I buy something small, and in which case I won't, I doubt I'll even report it, but Neiman says Pitbull's been on my list for years, never pulled the trigger either. Any thoughts on the new Mesa Badlander Recto? That one has super interested as well. I've seen, I don't know if I've seen all the demos, but I saw Ola's demo, I saw Fluff's demo, and I've seen I saw the Mesa, the one of the demo on the Mesa Boogie channel. And it looks pretty badass, dude. It looks pretty cool. I'm a little skeptical that they put their own cab clone on it, on the back, because the cab clone is known to kind of suck. And I think it is the updated version, which is much better than the original, but still, I am a little skeptical of that. But I guess if it's on there, it doesn't necessarily mean that I would have to use it, number one, and and I could always still I could still use one of my 2 Notes devices in its place. But regardless, it looks pretty cool. Honestly, this is probably something they should have done 8 or 10 years ago. Was update that. So no, hats off to Mesa, man. Hats off to Mesa. That amp is going to sell like hotcakes. They are, it's going to be real hard to track a new one of those down for a while, for the next 6 months or so, from whenever they start shipping. Daniel Burr says my next gear purchase is trading in my SG for something cooler. SGs are cool, man. I have an SG. I like my SG. It's not my main guitar, but I like it. Tam's World says, hit that thumbs up, people. Only you can prevent gray thumb. Unfortunately, it will not allow me to hit the thumbs up on my own live stream. Or any of my videos, for that matter. Unless I log in from a different account, which I never bother to do because that's stupid. Doc Amos Roxy says, did I miss anything good? We've talked about Pitbull, the VHT Pitbulls. We've talked about the new Mesa Boogie, Rectifier, Badlander, and we've talked about the Tascam multi-track recorder, and that's about the extent of it. Tam's World says, I want to get a head rush. It's a nice pedal board, but a little costly. I need to AB I'm not that I'd buy either one, but I need to compare because the headrest pedal board is like, what, I think that one's right at $1,000, maybe 11 or something like that, versus the Helix, which is like 16, and but the Helix was the LT, the small, which is the smaller it's about the same size, but it's a little bit more stripped down. I don't think it has all the signal routing, and it doesn't have quite as many of the IRs and stuff that the big one has. But that one's about the same size as the head rush. So I would be curious to see what the major differences between those two units are. The head rush was fairly popular when it came out, but then pardon me. The Helix continued to take off, and then the Kempers continued to take off, and same with the Axe Effect stuff. So nope, no modeling for me. JG Mopar says, I want the cheap Kramer Beretta Special. Those are supposed to be pretty well-made guitars, man. I think they're only like $100. They're under $200. They're cheap. Gibson got that one right from what I understand. At least based on based on the demo that I saw on Guitar Max's channel. So, instead of playing on a Mesa Boogie Mark 525, get the 35. Unless you just can't justify the extra wattage, I would get the 35. Pardon me. James Rule says I have an old Kramer Striker I had built when I was 18. I've still got my 1984 Kramer Focus. I don't play it very much because it just has one pickup, and I do like to use the neck pickup from time to time. But I could say it's all original because I still have the original pickup in the case. And if I ever do go to sell it, I'm going to put it back in. But in the meantime, it has a Duncan distortion in it, a la George Lynch. Park Kingery says I have a guitar on order, but I'm looking at the Driftwood Darkest Nightmare head. Those have caught my attention as well, but man, those things are pricey. Those Driftwood amps are not cheap. I mean, it seems like they start at like $3,000. I don't know where, some of the guys in those metal guitar gear groups on Facebook that all have, I don't know where those guys get the kind of money for the pile of amps that they have. My niece her says, "What's for lunch or dinner?" I don't know. I haven't thought that far ahead, to be honest. I have not thought that far ahead. I got up this morning and screwed around on my phone and answered some, responded to some messages that were waiting for me, and when I, got ready to come hang out here with you guys. And then after that, I've got to go run down to my mom's to help her with it's actually my turkey fryer, my infrared turkey fryer, but it's been sitting down there, hadn't been used in a few years, so I got to go down there and make sure it still works and we got enough propane for it. And go do that, and then I am probably going to just come right back home and take my traditional Saturday afternoon nap. So I finished Final Fantasy VII Remake last week, so I don't have that to play anymore. Which means they better come out with a sequel for that sooner rather than later, by the way, because that first one was really, really abbreviated from the original, but clearly they plan on doing more. Tam's World says, I'm having beer for lunch today. Reverend G says, what about the anniversary edition Mesa? I saw that my buddy Stay Metal Ray put up a video of that amp here. I just happened to see it as I was scrolling looking for something real quick. I haven't had a chance to watch it yet. So, but he seems to think it was pretty cool. He messaged me this morning. So, Running 13's here. What's up, dude? Savannah Guitar says, where do you like to eat? In the middle of a pandemic, nowhere. When there is not a pandemic going on, there's a local chain of, I love Mexican food. Love Mexican food. And, there's a local chain of Mexican restaurants called Cancun that is, that's really, really good. I don't know exactly where you're located, but they've got several, scattered around around town. There's another restaurant, another chain that's got. They just opened another one up here in Noblesville called the Red Habanero. That place is really good. And there's also Tijuana Flats opened one up here recently. I saw. I haven't eaten there yet. And Brew Burger's fantastic if you love burgers. Oh boy. And yeah, that's about all I can think of here off the top of my head because, I haven't been eating out a whole lot this year. Mike St. Croix says, "I know someone who likes their own Facebook posts. That is like some serious self love." Yeah, I mean, you gotta be pretty impressed with yourself to like your own Facebook posts. I mean, I can't compete with that. Paul Adamek says, "What's on your pedal board?" Nothing actually. Every single one of my pedal boards is completely empty because I rarely, I don't play out much anymore. So, I pulled all my pedals off and stuck them on the wall, and now I can just grab them as I need to for, whatever it is that I'm doing around here. What, be it, for if I'm recording a demo, recording a video or something like that, or if I just, want to sit down and play for my own enjoyment, just grab what I need off the wall and put it away when I'm done. So, if I ever find myself in a situation where I'm playing gigs and stuff again and need to build myself a pedal board, then I'm sure that day will come. But in the meantime, I don't have a need for it. So all my pedal boards are completely empty in the cases and stacked away not so neatly in the closet. Tam's World says, "I know the headrest has a really nice looper system in it." I don't know about the actual headrest, but they did actually come out with, later they came out with, with the headrest looper board, which is about the same size, but it is just, it's my understanding is it's just looping, and it's gigantic. So if you're a looper fanatic, then that thing might be for you. Yeah, let's see. Stay Metal Ray may be joining us here any moment. He just sent me another message. So whoever was up above that asked about the 50th anniversary rectifier, the guy to ask, maybe. Anyway, I don't want to speak until I see him in here, but. Guitar Man says, "Who are some of your favorite channels to watch?" I like to watch the channels the guys I'm friends with. Like Stay Metal Ray and Geargasms, Alan Barnes, Andy the Guitar Nerd. Because I do, I've gotten to know those guys, fairly well, and I do like their channels. As far as my own personal favorite channels outside of those people, guitar channels anyway. I like, Pete Thorne, Ryan Bruce. Those two are probably among my favorites. I really like Jared Dines. I think the dude's hilarious. I think he's a great guitar player. I get a pretty serious kick out of him. I like Glenn Fricker's channel a lot. I like Henning Pauly's channel. Oh boy, man. There's a lot of them. Brett Kingman's demos are great. I like Brett's channel quite a bit. Uh, yeah, Waleed, who was in here earlier. Uh, Waleed's channel, Waleed's videos are excellent. So, you know, there's a man, that's the thing with YouTube, man. Is there's so many more. There's so many um, new channels. Great content. Channels of great content that are popping up all the time. It's kind of hard. And I was nominated not once but 2 times. I only had 5 votes though, and 2 of those, and 2 people voted twice. So I guess really it was only 3. But I kind of thought that I would have done a little bit better, pissing off some people in that group than that. But I guess not. That was. What did you say? Mine T-shirt says food is the first thing on my mind each day. I'm not a real big breakfast eater. I do eat breakfast on Sundays because I like to get up and cook breakfast for me and the missus while I'm watching all the football pregame stuff and getting ready to sit down and watch football. But that's about the only day of the week that I regularly eat breakfast. Let's see. Ricky Compton's here. Ian Nunez is here. Ian Nunez says, drove to Sweetwater for the first time ever last Monday. Seen Don Carr and Nick Bocott. I don't know who either of those guys are. Says Nick, former 80s metal band guitarist for Grim Reaper. Yeah, they... It's kind of weird because, Fort Wayne, Indiana is not exactly the biggest town in the world, but those, and there's nothing else around it, by the way. It's Fort Wayne and country all the way around it, basically until you get to some other smaller towns that are several miles away. But they always seem to find their way up to Sweetwater and Fort Wayne for some reason. Oh, let's see. Ricky Compton says picked up a '96 SRV Strat a couple weeks ago. Those are cool, man. I like the SRV Strats. That's a cool guitar. And Doc Amos Roxy says thinking of selling my mini pedals and amps, none of which expensive, and just buying like all Strymon, etc. level and above that covers my needs, and quit the pedal amp hunt. Anyone ever done this? Absolutely not. No, I have absolutely not done that. I hoard. Pardon me. JG Mopar says California has the best Mexican food. I disagree. I think Texas has that title. But I'm also biased because I'm from Texas. Reverend G says Chicago has the best of all foods. I don't know about their Mexican food, but Chicago is a great food town. I have, I need to take another weekend trip up there just to go eat some more restaurants up there. There is a ton of great food in Chicago. Ricky Compton says Detroit has some good restaurants, like 30 minutes from me. I've never been to Detroit, which is strange because it's literally like a 4-hour drive from me, if that. But I've never been there. I live right off the interstate that takes me straight to it too. So I don't know why I've never been there. Never decided to take the drive up there. I guess I've never had a reason to, but No, Brewburger. Savinity Guitars says, Brewburger is BRU burger. Brew BRU burger. There's one downtown, and there's one in Noblesville, and I think there's still one in Carmel as well. So, Ryan13 says, what guitar has always intrigued you, but you've never had the opportunity to play? And what amp? Oh, boy. Always intrigued me, but never gotten to play. That's a good question. I don't know. I can't really think of anything. There's a few BC Rich models out there that have always kind of had my attention that I've never actually gotten my hands on, like the Zombie, and the Zombie, the Widow, and the Inferno. The Igniter. Those three models I have actually never gotten to play. As much of a BC Rich fanatic as I am, I've never gotten to play any of those. And those, I love BC Rich guitars enough. I would buy any of them sight unseen, but if it was the right model. But I've never actually gotten to play them. As far as amps go, God. I'll tell you what, Roland just, I think it was the Roland brand. It might be Boss, but I think it's Roland that just came out with a new version of it's not the blues. No, I'm sorry. It was the what the hell's the name of that amp? Starts with an N. It's the one that's got that weird tube module technology thing where you can put one of their the tube modules. You can plug it in and like totally change everything on the back of it, or you can go without. They came out with a bigger version of that looks like it's a little bit more geared towards, like stage use and stuff like that, live use. That I don't know if it's the kind of thing I would get into or not, but that's, that one I thought sounded pretty interesting, as well as. Now that I think about it, there's a couple of others. I really want to pick up a PV Bandit just because I want to see what all the damn hype is about. Everybody says it's the greatest pedal platform on the planet. So I want to see what I've been missing there. And the Tech 21, the Trademark 60, and the what's the other one? Trademark's the big one. The big one that I've always wanted to sit down and mess with. But there's another model that they have that I can't recall what that model is, but it's real similar. Anyway, either one of those. So those have always been kind of intriguing to me. Jeff Parker's here. What's up, dude? Give me a minute. I'm going to get caught up here in the chat. You guys are way ahead of where I am, and you guys are talking a lot faster than, you guys are typing and chatting a lot faster than I'm talking. So, Tam's World says Stevie T's an idiot, and it's great. He annoys the living shit out of so many people out there, and I think it's hilarious. I think the guy's funny as hell. I like his channel. I always have. I don't, I disagreed with the Richard Benson thing, but, he came back and realized he kind of came across as a real dick with that video, and he apologized for it. And, he apologized for it in a way that only Stevie T could, but I like Stevie T's channel. He's also a really good guitar player, by the way. Now I like his channel quite a bit. I think it's absolutely hilarious how many people get annoyed by him that, I don't understand why people, if it annoys that much, why are you watching it, Ricky Compton says, what's your string of choice? Ernie Ball, Slinkies, dude. Depending on, various different gauges. I like light strings. here lately on a guitar that I have tuned standard, I've actually been using 8 extra slinkies, and I like it quite a bit, based on the Rick Beato video about that. So, extra slinkies, super slinkies probably more than anything else. Hybrids quite a bit as well. Regular slinkies and power slinkies and stuff, for guitars and lower tunings where I need a little bit more tension. But for the most part, I am, my first string choices are Ernie Ball slinkies, and I also like the Cobalts and I like the M Steels and Dunlops. Dunlop strings are probably my second choice after that, and I've been trying out Elixir polywebs actually on a lot of guitars that's that I don't play as often just because I want to see. Number one, see if I actually like the strings, and see if it prevents guitars that I don't play as often, the strings from corroding on them oxidizing on them as fast as it used to. So, but yeah, I'm an Ernie Ball guy. Have been all my life. Jeff Parker says, hey, one good thing about lockdown, the rock stars now are all accessible. I've taken lessons online through Zoom with a lot. Gus G, Jennifer Batten, Gretchen Menn, and next month, Zoom Steve Vai. So that's true. All those guys guys and gals, they got to do something to, to continue making their living. So there's been a lot of those people that are, that are doing a lot of that Zoom stuff, just trying to squeak by, because they're not touring. JG Mopar says, right now I only seem to watch RGD, Ola, and Phil. I forgot about Ola England. I watch Ola's channel all the time, too. Glenn Fricker, I don't know if I mentioned him or not. I do watch Glenn's channel quite a bit. I don't watch all of his content because a lot of it gets into some recording stuff that I really have no interest in. But I like his viewers comments videos. I like his I like the stuff where he's talking about various different guitar stuff. I like his gear reviews. So Tam's World says, would anybody here ever like to try a collab with me? So there you go, man. If there's anybody looking for somebody to collaborate with, Tam's World's your guy. I assume it's a guy anyway. I guess I don't know, but Brian in Pubistan says, hi, I have a Fender Mexican standard Strat with Fender 5762 pickups. Problem is positions 2 and 4 aren't hum canceling. Any way to modify the center pickup to make it RWRP? I'm not sure. I mean, my initial instinct is to think that the middle pickup got wired in backwards. So you might reverse the polarity on that, on the middle pickup, and see if that doesn't fix it. But that would be the only thing I can think of. Anything beyond that, you might need to, take it to, take it someplace, take it to a tech and get it rewired. The good news is when it comes to guitar pickups, there's the guitar pickups themselves very, very seldom go bad unless you cut the wires too short to where you can't solder them into anything. Pickups themselves are generally just copper wire wrapped around a magnet. That's all they are. So there's really nothing in them to go bad. So yeah, so I would check to make sure that you got the middle pickup wired in correctly first, and then go from there. Jeff Parker says, I'm from Fort Wayne originally. Used to be a rock-heavy place. Tonto's was the big rock bar. Hung with Warrant Great White there. Yep. Tonto's, and, more recently it was Pierre's, but I think Pierre's closed up there as well, a couple years ago. So, Pierre's used to be a big rock club where all those bands used to come through and play up there as well. Ian Nunez says Don Carr and Nick Bocott do videos for Sweetwater. Sweetwater has a lot of people do videos for him, but I think it's Mitch. What's that dude's name? I think there's a few of them that are actually on the Sweetwater payroll that do it, as opposed to guys that people that they contract out to do it separately. My buddy John Suki, has been doing videos for Sweetwater here recently, various different demo videos, and he doesn't work for him directly. They just paid him to do it. And there's Zoe going nuts. Ricky Compton says, yes, Robert, Texas has the best Mexican barbecue, but Kansas City's barbecue. Kansas City's barbecue is pretty good, man, but again, I'm still partial to Texas barbecue. I'm not somebody that thinks barbecue is supposed to be sweet. And Texas is really the only place you can go where barbecue sauce is not, just like loaded up with brown sugar or honey or something like that. Most of it's, got much more of a, it's supposed to be a little bit sweet and a lot smoky. And Texas is where you go to get that, along with the best brisket on the planet. Rondo Bondo's here. Yeah. Jeff Parker says Detroit's honestly a lot of fun. Good place you need to go to. Motor City Guitar. I've heard a lot about that place over the years. Me and my buddy Brett have to take a road trip up there before he's getting ready to move down to Tennessee. So I guess we better do that soon. Of course, the entire world getting ready to go back down on, I don't know about the world, but our country getting ready to go back down to lockdown again. So might also make it difficult. Ricky Compton says Sonny Ryan's House of Barbecue, Texas, or Franklin's. It's been so long since I've been to Texas. I'm not familiar with any of that stuff. I couldn't make a recommendation one direction or the other. Kim's Workshop is here. What's up, man? Tam's World says, I've always wanted to own an Ibanez gem. I like the gems. It's never been a guitar that I've said as I love Steve Vai. He's been one of my all-time favorite guitar players forever, but I've never had nothing and I'd have nothing against, the gem guitars or anything. Like, they're great guitars. If somebody gave me one, I sure as hell wouldn't complain, and I'd keep it. But it's not one that I've ever really just sought, had to have, I guess is what I'm saying. So Joel Bateman, looks like Joel Bateman's back. Mark Welch is here. Joseph Austin says, what do you feel about BC Rich made in Korea models? They seem to go for nothing around here. It depends on what era. Because all the current line is also made in Korea right now, and those things are pricey. Those things are $1,500, $1,600, $1,700, depending on which model. But that said, most of even the older Korean models, I think most of, if not all of my BC Riches are Korean. Most of them. And those are actually really, really well-made guitars. So if you're telling me they go for nothing wherever you're located, I need to know where that is so that I know where to look to go find what is for sale in that area. Because I've been looking for a neck-through beast, Korean-made neck-through beast, for a long, long, long time, and every time one pops up, they're always way too expensive. As in people are asking more than they're worth for them. Pardon me. Gatorade. Brian Pubestan says, actually, I'm going to come back to that because Chris Morrow dropped something in the super chat, and I need to read that first. Says, being from Georgia, while I agree on the sauce, I must disagree on the best barbecue being in Texas. Is Georgia best barbecue in the world? I'm going to assume you haven't eaten Texas barbecue, but I admit part of the reason why I'm partial to Texas barbecue is because I'm from Texas. So it's natural to be partial to the food that is native, that is originated to where you're from. There's nothing wrong with that. So, but I love Texas barbecue. Love Texas barbecue. I love all barbecue. Let's be realistic here. But Texas barbecue is by far my favorite. Brian M. Pubestan says, guitars I always want to get my hands on. 1, Fender Jazzmaster. 2, Mosrite Ventures. 3, Gibson L5. If you ever do get to play the Mosrite Ventures, I will tell you that the neck on that thing is going to surprise you because it is really, really narrow across the nut and really, really fat front to back. So I mean, it's shaped kind of like that. If I were to describe it. It's it's not uncomfortable to play by any means, but it's not, if you're not expecting it, it's different from anything else. It was different from anything else I'd ever played. Coleman says his chops are wonderful. I don't know who if you're referring to somebody's guitar chops, or if you're referring to pork chops or something barbecue related. But there's Stay Metal Ray. Okay, I'm glad you're here. Hopefully you're still here. Because I don't know how long it's been since you left that comment. But Stay Metal Ray, if you're still here, somebody was asking earlier about the 50th anniversary dual rectifier that you just demoed on your channel. So these folks here, I'm sure, would love it if you would share your thoughts briefly on as briefly as you can in a chat comment anyway. Joseph Austin says there's a Korean-made Warlock with a hard case going for $225 here. Looks mint, just not sure about it. Well, where is here? And which series is it too? I mean, that's also a big factor. One thing you might want to make sure and avoid, if it's a Class X era, good guitars, but not the greatest the BC Rich has ever made. And you also might want to be careful to make sure that it's not a Z, aka an Ed Roman, which is not an authentic BC Rich. Paul Adam X says Billy Gibbons uses light strings. He does. Billy Gibbons has been known to use all kinds of stuff, though, man. I don't even remember what video it was, but a long time ago, I posted something about strings in a video, and and I mentioned that the Billy Gibbons used eights, which he has. A number of people said and came back comments, oh, Billy Gibbons uses sevens, which he has. So no, Billy Gibbons uses nines, which he has. No, he doesn't use his tens, which like most of us, Billy Gibbons uses lots of different gauges of strings for various different tunings and guitars and all that kinds of stuff. So. Ryan13 says, I went down to nines after watching Rick Beato's video, improved my bend significantly. I've always played pretty light strings, so that didn't, that was nothing new to me. And the reason I always played them is because I liked, I was always just more comfortable. It was easier to bend and just more comfortable to play. So. Has Coleman's here. Epic Esquire's here. Says, hey, Robert Huball as well. Just got one of those extortion text messages claiming they're going to report me to police if I don't pay them. Should I pay? Oh, yeah. Make sure, when you call them back, make sure and give them all the information that they're asking you for, like social security number and, credit card information, bank account info. Yeah. Those are, make sure and do that. Those I used to get those all the time. Those voicemails killed me. Like, the IRS is calling me and leaving me a voicemail that once I literally got this one time. They're calling me, leaving me a voicemail telling me that I owe them a lot of money, and this, that, and the other, and they're, I'm in danger of legal prosecution if I don't contact them immediately and pay. And it was literally like 3 days after I got my tax return back from them. Has Colbus says, Robert just got a Waza Blues driver. It's amazing. I don't have the Wazacraft version. I wish I did. But even if I never do get it, the regular, the regular blues driver is still a kick-ass pedal on its own. I did just get an angry driver though, and I haven't had a chance to try that one yet. So my understanding is the blues driver that's in that one, that's in the angry driver, is better than the original blues driver. But at least that's what a couple people have told me. I haven't sat down and A-B'd them yet, but trying to just, I'll probably do a video of the angry driver on its own just so that I can say that I did, and then do another video A-B'ing some stuff, because I've also had another blues driver or two circuit pedal that have shown up recently. Kobe out says, Robert, I'm going to be doing a complete wiring harness job soon for an HH Master Tone Master Volume 3-way switch guitar. Is a treble bleed a good idea to add in? Honestly, it depends on the pots that you're using. If you're using 500K pots, which is really what you should be using on humbuckers, I would say no. I don't know. Treble bleeds. There's several different ways that you can, different types of capacitors and values that you can do. It's a personal taste thing for me. I never have trouble getting enough. I never have any problems getting enough treble out of 500K pots, and letting amps and pedals and that kind of stuff do the rest though. So if you got to have more treble, then by all means. But my knees hurt says all food should be spicy AF, especially barbecue sauce. I used to think exactly the same way right up until I lost my gallbladder, and that was the sickest I've ever been and the most pain I've ever been in by a long shot. And I don't miss the the whole dick waving thing of everything's got to be as spicy as it possibly can. So. Brian M. Pubistan says, for guitarist on YouTube, I was very surprised Michelangelo Badio for all his intimidating guitar stunts and skills. Turns out to be a humble and sweet guy, like everybody's Italian uncle. I've never met him, but I know people that have, and matter of fact, he was. They had him on the Practical Guitarist podcast here a while back, a year or two ago. They had him on as a guest, and he was absolutely as nice of a guy as you can possibly imagine. It's pretty funny. He's from Chicago, and he says he has no problem selling out venues anywhere he goes except Chicago. The town where he lives in, he can't fill a venue to save his life. And I got to assume that's just because everybody there already knows who he is, and they've all seen him far more than anybody else. Charles 75N is here. Has Coleman says, Robert, have you Dr. Dean yet? I'm assuming you're talking about the Cadillac. I have not, and the reason why is because the intonation on that guitar is way out of whack, and I mean way out of whack. And that was by means no fault of the person that sent it to me at all. And I don't know if it could have been something got knocked out of whack in shipping. I don't know what it is, but it needs quite a bit of adjustment. That's going to take some time, and I just haven't had time to sit down and do it yet. So I'm hoping that I might be able to pull that off here the next couple of weeks, because I really do want to do a video on that guitar specifically. But I can't do it with it not intonated properly. Preston Spencer says, what is a good mid-priced amp for in-house use? Something with a good chug to it without sounding like a chainsaw. I would, depending on if you're talking head or, head and cabinet or combo, I would probably go with something along the lines of a Marshall DSL 20, DSL 40. Even probably go with the 40 because you can switch that thing down to half power if you need to, I think. Randall RD series amps, the 40, the 20, or the 45. I own the 20 and I love it. And let's see, PV6505 MH, Invective MH. There's those are all those amps all fit those fit that description pretty well, I think. So Mesa Mini Rectifier 25. Let's see. Ian Nunez says, "Isn't a gem just an RG with a handle?" Not really. I mean, they're kind of considered sister models, but really it's more. The gem is really the universe with the monkey grip on it, which is Steve Vai's other signature model. There's a few differences, outside of aesthetics. Of course, pickups and electronics and neck profile, stuff like that. But you're right; they are, the gems are similar to the RGs. Let's see. JG Mopar, also says there's a lot of good ones. In response to the question I just answered, so there's a lot of good ones. That price, PRS MT15 is also a good suggestion. Frodog says I just sold my angry driver. Joseph Austin says, Robert, you should try North Carolina barbecue. It's vinegar based, almost always pork. They traditionally don't use beef. I haven't been to North Carolina since I was a kid. Jeff Parker says, hey, Robert, when are you coming out with your usual Christmas stuff for guitarists? Need gift ideas for the family. Patience, young Padawan. Robert, would you happen to have a Dumble emulator pedal? I don't actually. I think about it. I've got distortion pedals on top of distortion pedals. But one that's like a Dumble in a box, though, I don't have. I actually don't have one of those. Hey, Robert, have you thought about releasing these live streams as podcasts? It's a new obsession of mine. I think it could prove positive for you. I don't know, man. Maybe, maybe not. I mean, have I thought about it? No. It's sometimes these live streams are such a pain in the ass to get set up and get going half the time. Anyway, I mean, I've got it down to a science now. But like last week, I hadn't touched a thing, hadn't done anything. The only thing that changed between last week and the week before was Windows updated my computer. That was it. Automatic update. And it was a big update. And sure enough, I go to log into my live stream, and all my settings in OBS got put back to default, and my microphone wasn't working. So it took me a while to figure that out. And it's and all that stuff always seems to happen to me just as I hit the go live button, and all of a sudden now I got people waiting on me, and while I'm suddenly just discovering that I'm experiencing technical difficulties. So no, I don't know. I haven't really considered entering the podcast world at all. I don't think that's going to be. Probably not going to be in my in the cards for me anytime soon. Maybe, one day I'm sure maybe I will, but I mean YouTube alone is enough to keep up with. So Now, the Frodog says he traded 3 pedals for the Air Force Schecter Telly from 05. I don't know what that is, but sounds cool. Doc Amos Roxy says the only thing I don't like about the DSL-20 is it's not the 40, but really don't need it. But the 20 isn't the 40, but the 40 is the 20, because you can, again, all the new DSLs have that half power switch on them. You can switch it down to 20 watts, or it might even be lower than that. Joseph Austin says, I want a JCM 800, but they're going for a mint right now. Yeah, the world seems to have discovered the 800s again, which really sucks. And you can buy those things all day long for like $1,200, $1,300 maybe. Not that long ago. Okay. JG Bopart says, I regret selling my 800s in the 90s. I had a 50 combo and a 50 watt head. Now they're way too expensive. I sold mine for under $600 back then. Ouch. Well, that's probably about what it was worth, though. Juha Leitonen, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right or not, says, have you tried Moore Micro Amp live, and your opinion if you have? I have not. I do own the, is it still out here? No, it's back in the other room. The Radar. I own the Moore Radar, which is their cab simulator. Kind of a pedal. It's not. It's it's in the pedal neighborhood, but it's not really a pedal because it doesn't really have a foot switch. But I do have that, and I did demo that on my channel a long time ago. That was one of those demos I go back and watch and realize that this sounds terrible, and it's not the fault of the it's not the fault of the pedal, but I did demo that, and that's about that's the closest I've come. I haven't messed with any of the micro amps before. Frodog says, Robert, do you still have a band? No, I don't. I haven't played out live in several years now, man. The last live show that I played was at a rundown shithole venue here in Indianapolis called the Emerson. And, the McDonald's directly across the street got stuck up literally like a half hour, 45 minutes before we went on stage. And that was also as a lot of our friends that had come down from Chicago to see us were over in that McDonald's grabbing a quick bite to eat before our set started. And, fortunately, the police came and sorted all that out, but nobody got hurt. But, that was with a band called Secondhand Theory, and that was the best gig that we ever played together, at least with me playing with them. They've had a few people rotate in and out on guitar in that band, me being one of them. But of all the shows that I played with that band, that was by far our best one. And it was a great show, but that was the last one that I did. And wasn't too long after that my my YouTube channel really started to take off, and that kind of became my focus and still is today. And especially nowadays, right now when nobody's playing out because of COVID. So I don't know, man. I'm sure I'll get back to it again here one day. But as of right now, this YouTube thing has most of my music attention at the moment, and seems to work out pretty well because I enjoy it, and I'm making about as much as I was making playing gigs, maybe a little bit more, and I'm getting my name out there, good and bad, a lot more than I ever did playing locally. So. Jeff Parker says I used to play in Broad Ripple a lot back in the 90s, places like the Alley Cat. Of course, Broad Ripple's still there. The Alley Cat, that was the biggest shithole in Broad Ripple. I don't know if they're still open or not. I think they closed. The patio, which you probably remember, the patio closed, unfortunately. So that was a great venue. Now, when bands play Broad Ripple nowadays, it's Flatwater, and there's only one or two other places left. The nightclubs, the boom places, or the watering holes are all still there. OPT's closed. Old players table, they closed recently because of COVID. They couldn't recover. So, Broad Ripple's hurting right now, man. Broad Ripple's hurting. The entire restaurant scene everywhere in Indianapolis is hurting. Restaurant and bars. It says, however, at the live shows, love to go to the Slippery Noodle. Slippery Noodle's still there. That place isn't going anywhere. That's the oldest bar in Indiana, or Indianapolis. I think Indiana though. They're not going anywhere. I've never been to the Slippery Noodle when when wall to wall people and you couldn't find a fucking chair. Are you self-taught? No, actually, I took lessons as a kid. Took lessons as a kid when I was, when I first started learning. I started learning when I was 10, and my parents got me set up with a guitar music teacher. It was a woman actually. Her name was it Andrea? I don't remember. That was fairly close to where we lived. And, she got me started. She taught me how to play, standard regular bar chords and power chords and stuff. And then we moved to Indiana. And then, my parents signed me up again for guitar lessons at a local music shop called Carmel Music Center. And there I took lessons from a guy named Chris Lyon for a long time, several years. And, me and all my friends took lessons from Chris. He was good. He was a real good guitar player, big grunge guy, but he was that grunge. He was that guy that was real into grunge music that had still, that had just come out of the 80s hair metal band. So he was a grunge player. He was really into the grunge scene, but the dude could, he could shred his ass off too. So, and he was a really, really good guitar player, and I learned a fair amount from him. But the guy that I learned the most from, though, no question, was later in life when I was taking lessons from a guy named Vincent Foltz, and we became real good friends after, from me taking lessons from him. And I took lessons from Vincent for probably 5 years. And Vincent taught me more than anybody. And Vincent has played with a lot of people. Probably his most significant thing, he played in Billy Cox's band, Billy Cox's Band of Gypsies a few years back. So, because Vincent's kind of a, it's not really fair to call him a Jimi Hendrix clone, but the guy idolizes Jimi Hendrix and can play anything and everything that Jimi could. So, he's probably, he's not really, if he's anything, he's the reincarnation of Jimi Hendrix's spirit. Doc Amos Roxy says, please never utter Slippery Noodle again. No, that's the name of the bar, dude. I didn't name it. Google it. Google Slippery Noodle in Indianapolis, Indiana, and you'll see what we're talking about. It's a cool place, man. It's a big blues bar is what it is. And, they've got 2 stages in there, or 3. At least 2. I want to say they got 3, and maybe more in the summertime. It seems like maybe in the summertime they set up something out in the back lot, right in the middle of downtown Indianapolis, right across the street it's right across the street from the old football stadium. Now it's a block or 2 away from Lucas Oil, but no, it's a legendary venue here in my area. JG Mopar says, why do us musicians always get stuck playing in shitholes? We used to play places that seem to always get shut down because huge fights would break out. I don't know that there's a science behind that, but let's face it, generally speaking, most musicians are pretty much low lifes. And we attract people like us, and sometimes that includes crowds where bar fights break out in, and musicians, of course, are the most underpaid, underappreciated, people on the planet. You pay paying a full band $1,000 for a gig, and that $1,000, that's after the band's already paid for all their gear, and travel expenses to get to and from the venue. Then that $1,000 still has to be used to pay the sound guy, lighting guy if there is a lighting guy, and then the rest gets split up against among the rest of the band. So it drives me crazy how underappreciated musicians are. About as underappreciated as YouTube demo channels like myself. I had a company hit me up over the week, over this past week. Say, hey, would you want to demo this for us? And I said, yeah, sure. I'd love to. My fees are this, and this. And I said, oh, we're not really looking to pay for any reviews. And I said, yeah, well, of course you're not. But I'll tell you what. Why don't you go compare prices with with any magazine, of your product, and then come back and talk to me and tell me which is cheaper for you. Idiots. JG Mopar says, I wish I'd stayed with lessons longer and learned. Screen jumped. Learned theory when I was young. Never too late, but easier as a kid to learn. I don't know, man. I mean, it was actually a lot easier for me to grab hold of, as I got older, and that's probably the primary thing that Vincent taught me, and I'm not Yngwie Malmsteen when it comes to music theory, but, at least, I know enough that I can, write and construct songs and, and play solos. But that's actually what Vincent taught me, because prior to that, I had no clue how any of that worked. Vincent's very well versed in theory. So, Doc Amos Roxy says, joking, no indie. Love cigar bar below street level in Monument Circle. Sounds like you. I don't know that cigar bar below street level. I didn't know there was anything below street level in Monument Circle. To be honest, I guess there was that tunnel that's. I've never been down there. You gotta be somebody, or be somebody with a suit and tie that works in one of those big ass buildings. I think to get access down there. I think. Oh well. Ian Nunez, the Slippery Noodle owner, died just the other day, right? I didn't know that. I hadn't heard that. You said Travis Feaster posted on Facebook. I didn't see Travis's post, and I do see most of his posts because I follow Travis pretty closely on Facebook because he's hilarious, and also because I love the guy to death. We've been friends for years, but he's absolutely hilarious. So I follow him pretty closely, but I didn't see that post from him, unfortunately. That guy's probably played the Slippery Noodle more than anybody I know. Paul Adamek says, all the local bars that had live music have been closed forever. All of ours here in Indianapolis started drying up even before COVID, man. I mean, like, we used to have places like Hot Shots and Visions and Drifties and Clancy's and Rose out in Greenfield and what was that place downtown? The Rock House. Among many, many others, and they've all closed. Every one of them, all closed. Britain Tavern up here on the north side, they're still open, but they host a lot more than just all those places I just mentioned. Most of those places were rock clubs, and Britain Tavern will host a rock band every now and again, but they do a lot of top 40 cover band stuff and DJs, and they do a lot of that stuff just because it's that's the area and the clientele that they're in. But so I think they're still open. There's a few places around, but I mean all the main rock all the main rock and metal clubs here in town have all dried up. So And I certainly don't have the balls to open one up after seeing all the rest of them tank. Thunder Falcon says I always keep a cheap guitar on the side of the stage just for bar brawls. That's a good idea. You never know when you might have to do a honky tonk man or a Jeff Jarrett. Smash a guitar over somebody's head. Kobe Out says there's a reason mothers warn their daughters off musicians. They have to. My knees hurt. Says always curious what guys like Pete Thorne get paid to demo a pedal. That varies quite a bit from one YouTube channel to the next. Depending on a number of things, and I do have a pretty good idea what a lot of those guys get paid. But I'm not going to share that info because it's not my place to do so. Frodog says, do you remember Clockwork Orange from back in the day? Led Zeppelin tribute from Indy. Were they in the 90s? I think maybe I remember hearing about them, but I don't recall, to be honest. Yep, I don't recall. Ryan 13 says, was that Gibson asking you to demo for them again? No, it was not. No, it was not. I assure you, Gibson is not going to be asking me to do any demos for them anytime soon. Really, they don't need it. Nobody demos Gibson guitars. They don't need anybody to because Gibson has this customer base is just diehard Gibson. They follow every single little thing that they do, and anytime Gibson comes out with a new guitar model of any kind, it's gonna, the Gibson fanatics are gonna buy it just because it says Gibson on it. The Fender's branding is very similar, and their customers are the same way. There's plenty of Fender fanatics that'll buy a new Fender guitar just because it says Fender on it, but Fender is a little bit different. They do, Fender's a lot more active in attracting new customers, and so they actually do have people, not me, but channels on YouTube that will demo their new products as they come out. Fender is very, very, forward thinking as far as creating new musicians. They want to get people started in one of their Squire line guitars, which they've actually put a lot more effort recently in recent years into. You pull a Squire out of the box nowadays and it's ready to go. They typically play pretty well right out of the box nowadays, and they did used to put that kind of effort in. It used to be they'd slap a set of strings on it, see if the truss rod was kind of sort of straight, and box it up and out the door it went. But now they really, really want to make a good impression on that brand new budding musician, so that when that brand new budding musician is ready for their second guitar, they buy a Fender. And they want to repeat that process on and on and on, which is very, very smart to think, smart way to go about it. Gibson, on the other hand, Gibson is, they've gotten out of the status symbol mentality that they had when Henry was still running the place, thank God. But, they're still there is still that they know that a lot of people dream about owning a Gibson, and so they don't want to cheap out too much. They've got their tribute series, and honestly, those aren't. I've never been impressed with them at all. They've got but they have their tribute series that price wise are a little bit more accessible to a lot of people, but. Doc Amos Roxy says RGD do company do you ask do you ask company to demo or they ask you or both? It goes both ways. It's I reach out to a lot of companies, and most of us do. I reach out to a lot of companies myself, and I very seldom charge. I haven't got to the point where I'm charging anything for gear demos. So I'll do most of them for free, and on the contingency that I get to keep the gear, because what I've been doing lately is demoing that kind of stuff, and then a lot of it I've just sold as soon as I'm done, and that's my payment. But I reach out to a lot more than reach out to me. Now, when I got in touch with Brian Johnson at Cool Guitar Gear, he's referred a lot of companies to me, and so they're starting to come my direction a little bit more than they were, because he's got a lot of connections and demoed a lot of stuff for a lot of companies. But it's they don't hit me up all the time like I can only imagine what Pete Thorne's inbox looks like, because he's demoing something new that I'm not familiar with multiple times a week now. Well, I guess he always has, but but to answer your question, a lot of times it's me reaching out to them, or or somebody else reached out to them on my behalf. So. Joel Atonen says, and forgive me if I'm not pronouncing your name right, but it says, I live in Helsinki, Finland, and our rock clubs have got closed also. Yeah, I don't think that's specific to just one area, my area or yours. I think there's a lot of clubs in a lot of cities around the world. They're all struggling with that right now. JG Mopar says, right when the COVIDs hit, the COVIDs, and shut us down, Sepultura, Sacred Right, Crowbar were supposed to play in my city. I was pissed they canceled it, but for good reasons. Yeah. Hugh Laytona says, the place I saw Zach Wild twice, and Opeth and Machine Head closed. Yep. Yeah, there's unfortunately we're going to hear a lot more of those stories before we hear about anything new opening up for those places to replace them. Doc Amos Roxy says, other than the Greta Van Fleet, anyone sounding old school out there? Yeah, I'm the wrong guy to ask. I'm the wrong guy to ask. I've been listening to Sons of Anarchy a lot lately, and they're about as modern sounding as it gets. Yulo telling us, what's your favorite guitar to play? Music Man Majesty, no question. Of all the guitars that I own, my Majesty's my favorite. Judging by all the reaction vids on YouTube of youngsters watching old school rock, I think someone would try to tap that new market. I think it's already been tapped, at least from a gear perspective, because you've got Gibson just revitalized and launched the right way the Kramer brand again, and I suspect they're going to do the same thing with the Steinbergers, give those a refresh again. Fender just reissued the HM Strat, the Charvels, of course, those, the Pro Mod stuff, that's always been right in the Super Shredder alley. So I mean, BC Rich done the same thing, with a lot of stuff. So I think there's you got a lot of companies that are making somewhat like throwback retro style super strat guitars from that era. So Robert, what is your pie in the sky opportunity to demo? Solar, BC Rich, Fernandez, Crimson, Friedman. What overpriced guitar do you have? Do you have a failing for? Overpriced guitar. I mean, I've said over and over again, the guitar I've always wanted but never been able to afford was the Gibson Les Paul Custom. I've always wanted a Les Paul Custom, and I've never been able to buy one. As far as opportunity to demo, it's on my channel anyway. I assume is what you're talking about. If any of those companies reached out to me, probably BC Rich. And I've actually reached out to them several times, and I've never gotten a response. Here, I don't know, 6 or 8 months ago, I even Neil Moser reached out to the head honchos there, and the new head honchos, that is, and on my behalf, and asked them to consider letting me demo some stuff, and I still never heard anything, but maybe one day. I just learned that one of the new owners is Zoltan Bathory from Five Finger Death Punch, or one of my favorite bands. So I didn't realize that he was one of the guys that that bought him out. He loves the brand as much as anybody else, so that partially explains why they're a little bit more expensive than they used to be, but it also explains why the build quality on them is back to where it should be. Give or take a finish flaw here and there. Pardon me. Thunder Falcon says Fender effed up the HM Strat, the new ones, where the nut radius doesn't match the fretboard radius. I was going to buy one until I found that out. That could be fixed, though. I mean, you're reshaping a nut. It's not that, isn't that much of a process. Can't reshape the fretboard, but Ryan 13 says, what speakers do you prefer? Vintage 30s. It depends on the amp, and specifically the cabinet. The instance of like an orange PPC 212 or 412 cab, Vintage 30s are absolutely the right speaker for that cabinet. An oversized Mesa Boogie 412 cabinet, Vintage 30s are absolutely the right speaker for that cabinet. But, in the instance of like a Marshall TV cab, 412 cab, which is their oversized, that one's got greenbacks in it, which is absolutely the right speaker for that cabinet. I don't. I'm real hot and cold with vintage 30s because I have played, like vintage 30s in a 1960 cab, Marshall 1960 cabinet, for example. I don't like. I think there's other speakers that sound better in that cabinet than vintage 30s. So, it just depends on the amp that you're talking about. Speakers are a big part of the tone. Probably, arguably the biggest part of the tone because that's where the sound comes out of. But, so they do matter. But, they're, I don't necessarily have a particular favorite speaker. It's kind of depends. It kind of lends itself to what's, really, how the amp itself sounds. So, but I do like vintage 30s quite a bit. For a lot of modern high gain amps, I think they're perfect for that. Though I've been on the fence for a while though whether I like vintage 30s better than the warehouse guitar speakers, veteran 30s. So, those are. I like the WGS speakers quite a bit too, even though they're imports. Doc Hamish Roxy says I meant young bands trying to tap an unfilled market, but I like gear approach on question RGD. Yeah, as far as young band, that I don't know. I'm finding myself the older I'm getting, the more I'm kind of losing touch with what younger, more current bands are doing. I'm getting called a boomer quite a bit. Part of that is because part of that is because when I see people, when I see kids fawning over fuzz pedals, I can't help but make fun of them. And there's a lot of that. There's that genre of real bad doom metal bands that make the good doom metal bands look really bad. They give the good doom metal bands a really bad name, I guess is what I should be saying, because there is a lot of bad, and I mean bad, doom metal out there. So, but that's a popular thing with a lot of young bands right now. I don't get it, and I probably never will. New creamers. Trading in mini 112 combo. Doc Ames Roxy says if trading in mini 112 combos for a few heads and a 212 or 210, what cat speaker combo is just good with any genre? Just home play. In that case, I would probably, honestly, I would probably go with a vintage. I would go with a 212 at least, and I would probably go for a vintage 30s. To be honest, one thing I will give vintage 30s, they're a very versatile speaker, and they're very popular across a lot of different genres of music. But make sure to go 212s. Don't go, I would not go for 210s. So. Unless you play like all blues and that's all you play. Blues guys seem to like 10-inch speakers, but rock and metal guys, 10-inch speakers. Typically, no bueno. Not on the bottom end. Abro says, hey, Robert, it gave it and bought a glary burning fire because it came in a lefty. And while it plays great, I'm impressed. The only exception is the neck is really thick, but overall is really worth it. Awesome, man. I couldn't, I thought mine was the one that they sent me was the biggest piece of garbage I'd ever seen. But a lot of people do seem to like those. It makes me wonder if I got a lemon. I mean, I'm not willing to give them any of my money to find out, just to see if I was wrong. But but a lot of people do like those guitars. Specifically, particularly if you're somebody that plans on modifying it anyway. Thunder Falcon says BC Rich is probably behind in production due to COVID shutdowns and not sending out demo gear. That's the case with a lot of companies right now. I'm actually shocked that honestly, most of the stuff that companies have sent me here recently have been like small boutique pedal builders and stuff like that. People that, they don't have a huge factory to shut down or anything. A lot of that stuff is being built in very, very small facilities. You Laytonin says, have you played solar guitar? And if so, give us your opinion. I haven't, actually. I have not. I I would be very, very honored if Ola sent me one. Because I think they're, I think they look great. I think they look great. They sound great. I mean, it's a Washburn Parallax is what it is. That if you compare that Washburn Parallax that Ola used to play, that was his signature guitar before he started Solar guitars. Other than the logo, I mean, they're identical. I think they're even made in the same factory. So, but really that's what it is. Regardless, I think they're really, really cool. I think they're really, really cool looking. I've heard nothing but great things about them from everybody that's played them. I don't think I've ever heard anybody have any complaints, to be honest. So I would certainly like to get my hands on one, that's for sure. William De Silva says, just ordered myself a Balaguer Archetype. Should be here Wednesday. Thoughts on Balaguer? I think that they seem to be pretty well made guitars, and they actually had a signature model for Fluff there for a long time. That was where I first heard of them. I've not gotten a chance to play any of them because I think they only build them and sell direct. I don't think they're sold in stores anywhere, though I could be wrong at this point. But they're. My understanding is, if you're particularly like their Gibson style models, if you're into those styles of guitars, they build them as well as anybody. So, Ricky Compton says, Robert, have an old Ampeg V4 straight cab with eminent square magnets. Great sleeper cab. Those old Ampeg V4 amplifiers, all that old Ampeg stuff is, they made some really, they're much better known for their bass amps, but they made some really, really good guitar amps. I don't know if the Reverber Rockets are still in production or not, but those are great amps. What is the VH140, I think. It was like one of the best solid state, heavy solid state amps ever. Those things sound awesome. Yep, Ampeg makes good stuff, dude. Ampeg were real popular in the 80s. They weren't Marshall, but they were probably, I would say they were probably as popular in the 80s as Randalls were. Randalls were really popular. Pardon me. Frodog says, I hate fuzz. I knew I liked you, Frodog. I hate fuzz too. RGD, I'm thinking of buying a cab with 212 and a 215 in it. Any thoughts on that type of cab? If you don't mind lugging them around, by all means. The 15s are probably eminent speakers, if I had to guess. But, the same cab with 212s and 215s in it, that has got to be gigantic. I don't know. I can't think of any cab any company that made that cab. But yeah, that's huge, dude. That is really huge. If you like bottom end, I'm sure it's got plenty of it. Jeff Parker says, Thunder Falcon, if you want a great 212 cab, Friedman makes probably the best. Expensive, but they're awesome solid wood. Most others have plastic. Friedman cabs are pretty good. I still think Mesa makes a damn good cab too, though. Paul Fuchs says Boss DS1 versus MXR Distortion Plus. I'd go Boss DS1 all day myself. MXR Distortion Plus is okay. It's pretty cool actually, but there's just the boss fanatic in me says go DS1. DS1's a cool pedal. DS1 is a cool pedal. You guys are still talking amongst yourselves. Joseph Austin says I have a Reverber Rocket 50 watt head. It's a good amp. They are good amps. They are good amps. You know, when I was in Secondhand Theory, Brett, who was a bass player, and it was Brett's band. He wrote all the music. We'd go practice at Brett's house in his basement, and he had a Reverber Rocket head and 412 down there that I was, that's what I always used for band practice. So that I didn't have to lug my own stuff down there because I was, it was an older house, and getting down into that basement was hard enough as it was. So, he had that Ampeg half stack sitting down there, and that's what I always used. And that thing sounded killer. I was pissed when he sold it. Ryan 13 says Washburn Parallax V is on my wish list. Incredible guitar. All right, nobody out there. She's just barking at nothing. Aren't you? You're just barking at nothing. You're just barking to be barking. Come here. You're a girl. You're a girl. Come here, Zoe. Come on. Let's get you to say hi, everybody. Yeah. Want to say hi to everybody? No. No, you're happy, chilling out just right, just like that, I bet. All right, you can hang out here for a little bit. How about that? Okay, let's see. Where was I? Paul Adamek says Fulltone makes great pedals. They absolutely do make great pedals. I like Fulltone pedals. I think he kind of shot himself in the foot with his comments of, insulting his own customers over the summer. I mean, while I don't necessarily disagree with the point that he was making, some of the things that he said while making said point were extremely uncalled for. Ricky Compton says, Robert, do you remember the Ampeg head that Lee Jackson designed? That was the... it was the V50 and the V100, I think it is. V50C, V100C. There's a 50 watt and 100 watt version. And I've got two friends, actually, that own that head. And I can't recall exactly what the model number is. I think it was something like that, though. But, yep, I believe that is the one. You okay, sweet girl? You okay? You comfy? All right, you're not fighting me too much to get down, so I'm assuming that means you're okay. Yeah. William De Silva says Fulltone is still in business. They still direct from the website. Yeah, and they're, and I don't think they're in any danger of going out of business. But Guitar Center dropped him immediately after Mike Fuller shot his mouth off on his Twitter account. And he pissed off a lot of people when he did that. So So didn't Guitar Center dump them because of some that's it. Yeah, like I said, Guitar Center dropped them. I don't know if anybody else did, but Guitar Center was the big one. So. Not only did they drop them, but they boxed all their unsold product back up and shipped it all back to him. I mean, when Guitar Center said we no longer carry Fulltone, it was immediate. I mean, like the next day, it was all removed from the website, even with the exception of a couple of used ones that were still out there. And even now, I don't think they're even now I don't think they're even allowed to buy in used Fulltone because they don't want them anywhere on their website at all. So, Paul Fuchs, thoughts on the PV-HP2? I want one, to be honest with you. At least I want a demo one. I actually reached out to PV, and I reached out to my contact at PV about that this past week, and I never got a response back. So, but I think they're cool, and honestly, I don't I don't know what's taking them so long. I don't know why they ever quit making the HP2 to begin with, but. If you're not familiar with the HP2, it's the old PV Wolfgang. So, but the new ones I think look cool, man. They're a little bit more modern looking as far as like finishes and tops and stuff like that go. They're not solid color, solid whites and blacks and stuff like that they used to be. Now they've got some really cool looking like quilt tops with burst blues and reds and sunbursts and all kinds of stuff. So. Doc Amos Rock is your dog F. You mean female? Yes, she is. Took me a minute to figure out what you might have meant by that. Fulltone says, Robert, you play software plugins. If you do, what is your opinion on the best stuff around? Occasionally, I don't use plugins all that often. Sometimes I do. For guitar amps anyway. I mean, I use plugins for drums and bass and effects and that kind of stuff all the time. But for guitar amps though, I really don't use them all that often. But I mostly record with my Laney IRT Studio, or occasionally I'll pull an actual amp head out here and then run it into my 2 Notes Torpedo. My Torpedo Live, but every now and again, though, I will use a plugin, and the ML Sound, actually just the free version of the Fluff Signature one, that thing's excellent. If you like, if you like high gain modern metal tones, anyway, that thing sounds real good. No clean tones in it whatsoever, but but high gain metal tones, that one's got everything in it you could need. And pretty much everything else I use, I've got the Amplitude Max plugin, which is, that's a big program, and there's amps on top of amps in that thing. And, between those two, if I can't find what I'm looking for out of either of those, then, I got no business looking for it anyway. So, yeah, that's what I use. So when I'm doing the virtual thing, anyway. Ryan 13 says, "What is the Fulltone story?" Well, he in the middle of the summer when. There's a lot of the, I don't want to, without getting too political here, without all the riots, when all the riots and stuff were going on, particularly out in California, he, Mike Fuller got on Twitter and was, expressing his frustration with how small business owners were getting their, front windows smashed in and, looted and stuff like that, which I absolutely agree with. He was right about that. However, the in that same statement, he also took it upon himself to call a bunch of his own customers, pussies and several other, four letter word expletives that is not exactly, if you're a person trying to sell pedals to these individuals, that's, calling your customers insulting names like that is probably not a real good idea, regardless of which side of the aisle you're on or they're on. And that's what happened. A lot of people took that really, really personal and sold off all their Fulltone gear, and here we are. But it's, for the most part, I mean, I don't want to say it's blown over, because he did lose a lot of business from it, but I don't think it's anything he's not going to recover from, and it will blow over. I know I can think of a few pedal builders who have gotten a lot more political than that in recent months. So, Zoe. There's nobody out there. You're fine. Frodog says, I bought a Les Paul Standard last year after years of waiting to get one, and I wasn't impressed. Doesn't feel like a $2,500 guitar. Gibsons are... Hey. That was loud. And I have no idea what she saw, because there's literally nothing out there. Gibsons can be really, really temperamental. And, they're known to, you have to play several of them to find the right one. And, if you can't, or just spend some time breaking them in and setting them up right the way that you want them, and all that kind of stuff, which is what I've usually done. So... Robert, have you tried the Amp Tweaker Defizzerator? I know you had the Type Metal. I've got the Type Metal Pro. I've wanted the Big Rock Pro for quite some time, though I've never gotten around to getting one. But I've never... the Defizzerator, I have not tried that one. So, I don't think that's a pedal, though, so much. I think that's something that they make to run in the effects loop to kind of smooth things out a little bit, like for noise and stuff. But no, I do not have any experience with that one. Thunder Falcon says the only thing that Fulltone dude didn't say was that fuzz pedals are great. They suck. They do have a couple of their own fuzz pedals. JG Mopar says, Robert, politics is hard to avoid these days. Thankfully, we have Robert's Guitar Dungeon to escape, and I try with everything everything I got to keep politics as far away from my channel as possible. I mean, I have deleted comments and even blocked a few people, who have been very, very loyal viewers, because they had to go bring their goddamn politics into my YouTube channel. Drives me insane. Yolatona says, I love STL Tone from Amp Hubs. For Amazon 1433 and Soft 2 Marshall stuff. If someone's looking for good software, go ahead and free trial. You won't be disappointed with good third-party IRs. I've also heard good things about the Mesa Boogie amp sims, I think. or maybe it's the IRs. I can't remember. But theirs are supposed to be really good too. Yeah, I still don't know what in the hell what in the hell she was barking at. She saw something out there. Doc Ames Roxy says, I like to joke on here too much. Sorry, RGD is one of only 2 channels I donate to. He seems to be a dude and not a soy boy. Soy boy. Sorry if anyone offended, just kind of COVID locked and trying to BS. I don't know what you said that you're apologizing for, so clearly I took no offense to any of it. Thunder Falcon says, if you like fuzz pedals, that's great. Whatever floats your boat, just not my thing. That's what I tell people, man. If you like fuzz pedals, buy them all, enjoy them all. By all means, I'm not stopping you. I'm not stopping you, and I'm not criticizing you for doing so. But don't act like I ran over a litter of puppies with my car because I don't like fuzz pedals. And that's how people treat me when I tell them that I hate whatever fuzz pedal is that they're fawning over. Kobe L says, I hate to get political, but I prefer Ampeg over Marshall. Sorry. William De Silva says, Doc, people seem to get offended way too easily in this cancel culture we live in these days. I don't get it. I'm old school. I guess I like a good pun and joke. I had people that were lighting me up on my video last week, about me making a joke about suicide. So I responded to him and told him I wasn't making a joke about suicide. I was making a joke about multiple personalities. And man, they did not like that at all. I was shocked. I was blown away that somebody got offended by that. Wow. Walt Disney said, which is stronger, glue or tape? I say glue. Matthew Perkins in the super chat says, F politics. I agree. Says, for active pickups, Seymour Duncan blackouts, EMGs, or Fishman. I would probably lean towards blackouts, but I still have not gotten to try a set of Fishman pickups yet. So the Fishman, like Modern Fluence pickups, seem to be really, really kick-ass. But like I said, I haven't played them yet. So, but between the others, God, I don't know, man. Because it used to be with EMGs, it was like 81, 85, or the 89s, and that was about it. Maybe the 60, and I'd take Duncan blackouts over those any day. But now EMG's coming out with some other models that are pretty cool, like the retroactives and the 81X. They've got some really, really good stuff out there right now. So I don't know. I guess it just kind of depends on the model and nuts. I tend to be pretty loyal to Seymour Duncan, but really in that instance, it's really about which pickup is best. So which pickup is best for which guitar? What am I going to use it for? RGD thoughts on Epi Retro Wilshire and Crestwood models. I love the 70s MIJ Crestwood. I think Epiphone is on a great new track. If they re-released them, I haven't seen them yet. I know the old, the not that old, but like the Wilshire, the retro reissue Wilshire things that they came out with about 10 years ago. Those are pretty decently made guitars. The Crestwood I'm not familiar with. I've never seen those. But if Epiphone re-released the those new guitars, if they brought out a new version here recently, those I'm not familiar with and I haven't seen them. All About Guitars says, I'm a bad guitarist because it's So hard for me to play We Die Young. Any advice? That song is, you know, you play along on the metronome. Play along on the metronome. Make sure that you have the metronome turned up enough so you can hear it. There's some things in that song, timing wise, that are a little tough, and also just because of the way, just because of Cantrell's tone and the way that it's mixed, it's also kind of hard to hear exactly what. I just sat down and relearned part of that song here recently, and there were some things in it that I had been playing wrong that I didn't realize, and so there's some things in it that are kind of tough to hear, but the timing in it is, particularly with the tempo, because that one's pretty upbeat. So play along with a drum track, not a drum track, but a groove of some kind, some kind of beat machine that's set to the right BPM, and like make sure you can hear it, and then just woodshed it until you can get through it front to back, without any timing issues, and they should be in good shape. As far as the solo goes, make something up, because you can't hear what the hell he's playing anyway. So mm, Walt Disney says, "Is YouTube your full-time job?" No, it is not. No, it is not. This is side income for me. Or supplemental income is probably a better description. I do have another full-time job that I sell gear. I sell gear, music equipment to businesses and commercial accounts for a living. That's what pays my mortgage. Paul Fuchs says, apparently you can pay money to tinkle on Robert, the super chat chime. Yeah, it does do that. Sounds like that. That was me hitting the test super chat thing. RGD, try the Twin Note. If you sincerely think it sucks, for the price, I'll pay for it. No. I'm not interested. I'm not interested in trying it. Just not my thing. The Marzio X2N is a good one. There was a time when that pickup was the hottest passive pickup on the planet. There was not a passive pickup on the planet that would give you more output than the DiMarzio X2N. And then other companies, eventually came out with shit that was even higher output. And X2N's a cool pickup, though. Not the fattest sounding pickup in the world, but it is a flamethrower. Have you ever tried a PV Trans Tube Series Studio Pro 112 guitar amp? I've played several of the Trans Tube series, and the PV Bandit came out of that series, and so none of them really blew my socks off, but my it's been a long time, and my ear was a lot different back then. I was looking for different things out of a guitar amp than what those gave me. Now, like I mentioned earlier, the PV Bandit is, all of a sudden is getting this reputation as this, this great Shangri-La of a pedal platform. So I keep waiting for the opportunity, and I've seen a few that have popped up that have been, cheap enough that I could have grabbed them. I just didn't, because I wanted to spend the money on something else. And so I don't know. I mean, that's probably going to be something that I do next year. is pick up a PV Bandit and see what the hype is all about, and we'll see if I keep it. Maybe I'll keep it. Maybe I'll demo it once and I'll sell it. I don't know. We'll see. Walt Disney says, "Have you ever played a drum?" I mean, I've sat down behind drum kits and messed around on it before, but am I a drummer? No. you don't want me playing drums in your band. Hey Robert, have you tried the Yamaha TH10 amps? Yes, I have, and they sound pretty good. But the new ones that just came out, the THR, like the THR, I think there's a 10, a 10 and a 30 that are, there's a Mark II version. I think that both have like wireless. You can use the Line 6 wireless systems with it. Because Yamaha owns Line 6. Those actually sound real good. Check out, Fluff actually demoed one of those on his channel a few months back. Go check out that video. It tells you everything you need to know about it. Joey Van Ostrin says, to All About Guitar, says, "You're not a bad guitarist. Keep practicing. You'll get it. Practice, practice, practice." And I agree completely. No need for anybody to beat themselves up about, how it's real easy for guitar players to compare themselves to other guitar players. And, for anybody that's telling you that you're a bad guitar player, that is somebody that's really, really insecure about their own playing. And I get people telling me the same thing all the time. People tell me I suck, and people tell me I'm a terrible guitar player, and I'm well aware of where of what I'm capable of playing and what I'm not capable of playing on guitar. But as Joey just said, practice, practice, practice. The only thing that matters is, are you enjoying it enough? Who gives a frog's fat ass what anybody else thinks? And if it bothers you, again, practice, practice, practice. But in the meantime, if anybody gives you a hard time, about it, you have my permission to punch them straight in the mouth. So all right, fellas, I got to roll as well. So those of you that contributed to the super chat, thank you very, very much. Make sure and check out the video tomorrow morning. I'm not going to give anything away other than saying that this is one that several of you have requested. So, and I hope you enjoy it, because I had a lot of fun making it. So that will go up tomorrow morning, I believe, at 9 a.m. And I got to go work to make sure my turkey fryer is working. So, infrared fryer, that is, not oil fryer. Infrared. Hey, Dave Escobar's, popped in the last minute. So hi and bye. See you guys. Have a good rest of your weekend. All About Guitars. One last shot to the super chat. Thank you, sir. Thanks, guys. Everybody have a good weekend.